Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X research and professional physicist. And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one is entitled Locating Planet X and Predicting Earthquakes. Now, in Article 484 entitled Planet X, the cause behind low-pressure weather systems, I detailed how a BBC weather announcer had associated the pink sky seen over England, which could only have been created by Planet X dust entering the atmosphere, to low-pressure weather systems. This dust is part of the debris field surrounding Planet X system's stellar cores, and thus showed that it had been a stellar core moving towards England that had created the low-pressure weather system, and which had also given rise to the pink skies. This should not be surprising, as both in the case of Hurricane Florence and Hurricane Michael, it became obvious that what meteorologists call storm surge is actually a tidal surge due to an object moving downwards from space over a certain region on the surface of the Earth, and that the winds created by such storms are actually due to gravitational vortices created by these objects' gravitational influence on the Earth's atmosphere. And you may look at Article 343 entitled Hurricane Florence Cover-Up for Tidal Force from Object in Outer Space, Article 370 about Hurricane Michael, about the same thing, and Article 371 about Hurricane Michael as well. And here you see a photograph of the pink skies over the UK, which was brought by a Planet X object surrounded by a debris field, which also creates a low pressure system in the Earth's atmosphere. And here you see a photograph of one of these objects immersed in cloud. They cause cloud condensation to occur around themselves, so they appear to be immersed in cloud, but this one was only partially covered. But you can see it's a dark spherical object in there. Now, Planet X system stellar cores are dead stars, planets, or moons. They are low in energy and thus have low gravitational influence, but they are strong absorbers of energy and thus destructive to living celestial objects. They have been going into the sun's corona for thousands of years and coming to the Earth from the sun in about as long. The stellar cores, which are smaller than Earth, enter the atmosphere, remain with the Earth for some time, absorbing matter and energy from the Earth, and then leave, going into orbit around the Earth or around the sun before coming back, eventually for another recharge. Well, that does not mean that larger than the Earth objects do not come to the Earth as well. It's just they will not have a gravitational force strong enough to pull matter away from the Earth, but they can still enter the atmosphere. And you may look at these articles 452, 374, and 373 for more details on that. Now, since these objects have now completely depleted the sun's atmosphere or corona, they are now coming in increasing numbers to the Earth to absorb atmosphere and electrons. And you may look at Article 480 entitled The Dark Sun and Planet X now entering Earth's atmosphere in large numbers. And here you see some of these objects in the sun's corona. As you can see, drawing corona, which is the sun's atmosphere, towards itself. You can see it connecting to the surface of the object here at several places. You can see the gravitational vortex underneath. And basically this is the same thing that they will do within the Earth's atmosphere, and there will be a cloud that forms around them. And this is therefore very similar to what will occur within the Earth's atmosphere. And here you see another one of these objects also making a gravitational vortex connection with the sun. It's pulling matter from the sun, and this is a solar tornado, which is the same thing that basically the same thing that they will create in the Earth's atmosphere, a tornado. But this is in the sun's atmosphere. And you may look at Article 453 entitled "The Sun is Now a Dark Star" for more details about how these objects have managed to cause the sun to go dark. Now, this is what happens to a living celestial object when it becomes a stellar core. Basically, it becomes a core surrounded by a debris field. And if the object went from living to a dead object by itself, then the debris field is likely to be the outer layers of the object. But it has become obvious to me that some of these objects do not get to old age. Our sun did not. It's being torn apart by these dead objects that have come to it in large numbers. And if this happens, then a living celestial object, as is happening with the sun, its outer layers will be removed and absorbed by the dead objects, whilst these dead objects will then leave their own debris field behind, made of dead matter. And that will then form the debris field that surrounds the object. And this is what's occurring with the sun. Now, it is impossible for a low-pressure bubble to move through the Earth's atmosphere unless it is created by the gravitational influence of a massive object in the Earth's atmosphere. The cores do not collide with the surface of the Earth, just like they did not collide with the sun, because all celestial objects have positively charged cores which repel each other. And you may look at Article 400 again for more details on that. And so if a regional low pressure was to form within the Earth's atmosphere, then because there is no barrier separating it from the rest of the atmosphere, air from the surrounding regions, which is denser and thus creating a higher pressure, will quickly flow into that region in order to equalize the density of the air there and therefore the pressure. So it's impossible for a bubble of low pressure to just exist by itself within the Earth's atmosphere, much less move across the surface of the Earth. The only way this is possible is if it's created by the gravitational wave which these objects generate. Because they are celestial objects, they generate a gravitational field, even though it's weak because of their low energy status. There's still a wave, a gravitational wave, which they generate, creating an areas of low density and areas of high density. But so this low pressure area is basically a low density area because of the gravitational attraction that this object exerts on the air below it, or between itself and the surface of the Earth. So this means that when we have low pressure systems, which are shown in weather maps, then we are likely to have stellar cores that are actually creating these low pressure systems. But since most of meteorology seems to be a cover-up for what is really going on, the location of low pressures associated with stellar cores are more likely to be accurate if the low pressure is over or affecting a populated landmass. And this is a weather map by the Weather Channel from December 11th, 2018. And it was indicated that a low pressure region over the southeastern part of the US was about to bring storm conditions to the region. And this indicated that a Planet X system stellar core was moving in over the region and creating a low pressure and thus the storm conditions. The large size of the region affected by this low pressure suggests that the stellar core effect causing it was large and is large. It's most likely still over the region because this was supposed to affect this region for several days. And therefore it is most likely much larger than the ones which create tornadoes and waterspouts. And these ones may be about 100 feet in diameter. But these ones would be much, much larger. Hundreds of kilometers perhaps across. Now, on December 12th, sorry, I wrote 13th, but it was 12th, there was an earthquake in Tennessee, and it was a 4.4 magnitude earthquake. But it occurred in a region which is approximately the center of the region affected by the low pressure generated storms. Okay, it's approximately about the middle of this region. So this suggests that the stellar core that was creating this low pressure also created this earthquake. And stellar cores break up and fissure the surface of the Earth and create earthquakes through both the gravitational and the electrical influence over the Earth. And the gravitational is due to the gravitational wave, which creates regions of high and low density, the same that they create in the air between themselves and the surface of the Earth. But that gravitational wave also affects the surface of the Earth itself, and as the object passes, it causes contraction and expansion of the surface and causes it to break. And then fissures appear, landslides occur, and they can also create earthquakes if that contraction and expansion is of a high enough severity to cause such things to occur. So they can cause gravitational earthquakes. But there is also an electrical interaction, especially with the larger stellar cores and the surface of the Earth. In other words, they absorb electrons through that electric interaction. So a current flows from the center of the Earth outwards towards the object, and that can cause electrical earthquakes. So they can create both types. Now, so the size of the earthquake they can create is likely to depend on the size of the object. The larger ones are likely to create larger earthquakes. And you may look at Article 445 entitled, "Can Planet X Cause Devastatingly Large Earthquakes on Earth?" The larger objects are likely to create the strongest earthquakes, but these larger objects will also create low pressure systems associated to storms of lower severity but affecting a very wide area. And the smaller stellar cores seem to create the strongest or most severe storms, such as tornadoes, which then affect a very small region. And you may look at Article 484 where I explain that. Now, it is possible to have a system of objects moving together so that a hurricane-type storm may be accompanied by tornadoes, in which case the larger object in the group created the hurricane and the smaller ones created the tornadoes. And if there was an even larger object than the ones that create hurricanes, then possibly there may have been earthquakes associated with it. And this illustrates what I mean here. The smaller ones will create tornadoes, which the gravitational vortices affect a very small region, but they're very severe, and they can pull matter right off the surface of the Earth towards the stellar core. The larger ones create larger vortices, which do not directly connect with the surface, but still create very high winds over large regions, and that's basically what a hurricane is. There will always be a wave created, or tidal bulges created on the surface of the ocean, which is not shown here. But so this is the type of thing that we have. Now, the even larger ones will create the larger low pressure regions that create these storm systems affecting large regions of the surface of the Earth. And those ones are likely to create earthquakes as well. So in conclusion, weather forecast maps showing the location of low pressure weather systems, and particularly when these low pressure weather systems are associated with storms, offer a way to locate Planet X system stellar cores over certain regions on the surface of the Earth, and also the opportunity to predict earthquakes. Earthquakes are likely to occur if the storm system associated with the indicated low pressure system on a map is predicted to affect a large region of the Earth. And these are the references. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.